수라고 해요.
한정현이에요, 한정현.
야, 얘 안 되겠다. 그 지문 채취해서 전과 기록 조회해봐. 아이씨, 그 진짜 이름 없어?
이석규.
뭐?
제 이름 이석규입니다. 이석규.
이석규?
네.
야, 이석규란다. 조회 돌려봐. 이석규 주민등록번호
68.
on 11th November.
This is Nightline, and I'm Raymond. News making the headlines. Barisan Nasional Manifesto doable, not extravagant, says Prime Minister.
Kalau ada kes, ada bukti, report lah. Jangan buat fitnah musim ini.
Past Deputy President Datuk Sri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man slams PKR's Rafizi Ramli on R2 billion project claim. Good morning. The Prime Minister said the Barisan Nasional BN manifesto that was launched on Monday night can be implemented because it is realistic and does not promise just to win votes in the 15th general election GE15. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said this was because the manifesto was drawn up based on the essence of 2023 budget, with several new offers which could be incorporated as improvements to the budget.
Apa yang kita janjikan adalah sesuatu yang kita boleh laksanakan. Kita tidak janji bulan dan bintang seperti yang dibuat oleh pihak pembangkang. Maknanya kita berpijak di bumi nyata. Maknanya apa yang kita buat ini, kita dah masukkan ke dalam bajet.
He said this at a media conference after attending the People's Festival at Kampung Boho Baru in Kuala Bera, Pahang. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri also said that the manifesto does not leave out anyone, including the M40 group, because the 2023 budget tabled by Finance Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz earlier was comprehensive. Now, UMNO Information Chief Shahril Hamdan said that the people's well-being is paramount in BN's quest to serve the Rakyat post-GE15.
I see the BN manifesto that was launched as a potential game changer in these elections because it proves one more time that BN promises what is doable and it has a level of specificity that I think our opponents' offerings don't. For example, some of the game-changing promises, offerings that BN is giving in Padu includes that automated top-up to household income for households that earn less than the poverty line. That's quite a bold and brave promise, something that I personally believe in, and I actually proposed something similar in my tours, speaking about policy a couple of years ago, so I'm quite pleased that that suggestion has made the final list. There are also other very welfare-centric promises that are different, simple cash handouts. So, for example, the free childcare services. I think that's something that a lot of young families and or families with young children could really do with. We have Tabika Kemas, which is really basically like free kindergarten. There's no reason why in this day and age we can't do the same for childcare. This obviously has other spillover or rather other effects that are going to include things like having more women going back to the workforce. So I think that's one other standout promise that I'm quite pleased about.
And as for the MIC, the manifesto reflects the coalition's engagement with the people.
Looking at the youngsters, not only youngsters, public at large, they are very excited with the manifesto by Barisan Nasional. First and foremost, it is because it's from Barisan Nasional. It's not from Pakatan Harapan. They have enough experience in the past, especially in the last general election, where they came up with a very exciting and attractive manifesto. Then toward the end, they said, no, this is not a kitab. We don't have to fulfill all the commitments. That is one. Whereas The rakyat have experienced any manifesto from Barisan National will uphold our decision to implement. Therefore, the rakyat is excited. Over and above the proposal given by the Barisan National government to eradicate poverty, that is one. Second, the special act for gig economy. These have excited the youngsters, and moreover, 5G program and special exemption from tax for the female worker who come back to work, return to work, so on and so forth. These are the few proposals that have really excited the people of Perak or public at large, especially in Tapa.
We now have with us Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams, non-resident senior fellow of the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, MIER. Prof, the BN says it has produced a comprehensive solution to answer a variety of pressing issues such as the high cost of living. What is your analysis on this from the perspective of the economic point, and how do you rate the coalition's manifesto?
The Barisan National Manifesto was really very surprising in a very good way. One of the most important things that we have seen in this election is in the Barisan National Manifesto, and that is the introduction of what they call the Assistive Basic Income Program, which will set a lower threshold for people's income at 2,208 ringgit per month, and will provide direct assistance to make sure that people don't fall below that level. Now, this is the starting point of a universal basic income, which I have long supported and long advocated, and it is a very, very important revolutionary change in the approach to welfare and the eradication of poverty. And it's very surprising to come from Barisan National, and they have done a very good job in placing this front and center in their manifesto.
Now, besides that, Prof, what are the other areas which could excite the people?
There are three other things I think that are really important in the Barisan National Manifesto. The first is the extension of help for people who are in unemployment, and that is the extension of the employment insurance scheme, and also the introduction of a new employment retention program to help avoid people going into unemployment in the first place. The second is a pledge to revise many of the visa restrictions that are in place for foreigners who want to work here in Malaysia, or foreign investment for investors who want to come here to Malaysia. And I think that that's a very important initiative that I've been long advocating. And the third is the pledge by Barisan National to instruct GLCs to reduce their involvement in the marketplace, to reduce crowding out, and to allow more space and more scope for small and medium-sized enterprises. This again is something that I have long advocated, and I'm very glad to see it as a commitment in Barisan National's manifesto.
And lastly, Prof, there are also other parties talking about education in their election promises. What's your take on BN's pledge on this area?
Barisan National have been clearer on this and said that higher education will be free for people in the B40 group. Pakatan Harapan have talked about debt forgiveness for people in the B40 group. And both are pointing toward income contingent repayments. What that means is that the amount that you repay will be dependent upon your income, and your income will have to go up above a particular threshold before you start repayment. I think that Barisan National have gone further than Pakatan Harapan in PTPTN reforms, because they have also made some indications about how this might be replaced with the form of a voucher, not just for higher education at universities and colleges, but also in technical vocational education and training in TVET, and also various reforms for the PTPTN organization itself, so that it will take on a different function and a different role. So both of these things, in my view, are the starting point to addressing the concerns that I've had about higher education financing and the burden of student debt.
And that's Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams. Moving on, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob stressed that the explanation of Barisan National Chairman Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi on the issue of the Prime Minister candidate if the coalition gets the people's mandate in GE15, should be able to silence the opposition. The BN Prime Minister candidate said that the coalition chief's statement also proved that the agreement was reached by the leadership of BN components, namely UMNO, MIC, MCA and Parti Bersatu Rakyat Sabah PBRS.
Tujuan mereka menamakan orang lain tu adalah untuk mengelirukan pengundi yang untuk memecah belahkan pemimpin UMNO dan Barisan Nasional. Jadi dengan statement yang dibuat oleh semua presiden parti komponen, Presiden MCA, Datuk Seri Wee Ka Siong, Tan Sri Vigneswaran, Presiden MIC dan begitu juga timbalan Presiden UMNO, Tok Mak Hassan, dan akhirnya semalam Datuk Seri Zahid telah menjelaskan segala-galanya dan apa persepsi yang cuba dicipta oleh pembangkang itu ternyata adalah palsu dan fitnah semata-mata.
He said this at a media conference after attending the People's Festival at Kampung Boho Baru in Kuala Bera in Pahang. A day earlier in Bagan Datuk, Datuk Seri Zahid reiterated his stance that there is no issue involving Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, who will be reappointed as Prime Minister if the mandate is given to BN to lead the government. PAS Deputy President Datuk Seri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man has slammed PKR's Rafizi Ramli over the latter's slandering statements which claimed that the Environment and Water Minister had approved a 2 billion ringgit project after Parliament was dissolved. He challenged the PKR Deputy President to lodge a report with the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC. Datuk Seri Tuan Ibrahim said he has also instructed his lawyers to see if any legal action can be taken against the PKR man.
Dikata ada pihak-pihak tertentu minta Menteri Kasar lulus 2 bilion dalam tempoh kerajaan caretaker government. Kerajaan peralihan. Kamu ingat aku tak erti peraturan ke? Mana boleh lulus mana-mana peruntukan kewangan dalam tempoh kerajaan sementara kerajaan peralihan caretaker government? Tak boleh. Nah, saya nak tegaskan, saya tak pernah meneruskan sebarang peruntukan mana-mana projek setelah parlimen dibubarkan. Dan saya nak tegaskan, tidak ada mana-mana pihak yang mari jumpa saya minta lulus 2 bilion, bukan sikit.
Rafizi previously claimed that the Environment and Water Ministry CASA was in the process of awarding a flood mitigation project worth 2 billion ringgit through direct negotiations. He claimed to have been informed by a source in the government that the effort to immediately approve the project under the administration of the caretaker government was in return to receiving funds to be used throughout the 15th general election. In the meantime, the Environment and Water Ministry CASA, in a statement, also explained that the process for awarding the Sungai Langat flood mitigation plan while under administration of the interim or caretaker government does not arise at all and is merely perceived. This is because CASA has postponed all procurement processes related to the off-budget flood mitigation projects 2023 to 2030 during the period of a caretaker government, which took form after the dissolution of Parliament on October 10th. The postponement of all procurement processes includes putting on hold the issuance of letters of intent (LOI), offer letters, letter of acceptance, and any form of negotiation with the contractors or consultants, including work on the Langat River flood mitigation plan. It said this move was in accordance with the special meeting convened by the Ministry's Chief Secretary and Head of Administration on October 11th, the circular letter from the Ministry of Finance dated October 18th, as well as the guidelines on the role and function played by the caretaker government as approved by the Cabinet of Ministers on October 7th. The guidelines, among other things, stipulates that any contractual agreements or undertakings should be avoided, including any new negotiations or undertakings that may be binding, burdensome, and have financial implications for the new government.
Mandat kembali ke tangan rakyat. Kepercayaan dan keyakinan. Kini masanya memilih kerajaan teguh dan mampan. Pilihan anda kami sampaikan. Mandat Rakyat PRU 15. Komprehensif dan terkini. Hanya di TV3.
Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim believes that Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad and his party's presence in GE15 is only meant to split the votes. The PKR president said Tun Dr. Mahathir, who was Prime Minister twice, is no longer relevant and should no longer be discussed about.
Mahathir pun yang kacau lebih ala. Itu sudahlah habis. Jangan kacau dia lagi. Jangan cerita lagi. Jangan cerita lagi. Sudah. Sudah out sudah. Bagi pecah undi saja.
Datuk Sri Anwar also said that the claims that he is seeking to enter a cooperation with UMNO President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi are baseless. He stressed that his plan is to win at least 112 seats in the parliament so PH can form a government. Gabungan Rakyat Sabah GRS Chairman Datuk Sri Hajiji Noor has dismissed Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's views on the seat allocation in Beluran after the Bersatu President insisted that it should have gone to a candidate from Perikatan Nasional PN. The Sabah Chief Minister stressed that the political situation in the state is a bit different and it must be dealt with the Sabah way.
Itu pandangan Tan Sri Muhyiddin. Di Sabah ini keadaan politik kita agak berlainan sedikit, ada keunikan dia. So kita olahkan politik kita cara Sabah.
The Sabah Bersatu chairman was commenting on Tan Sri Muhyiddin's statement questioning the move by GRS to give way to Barisan Nasional candidate Benedict Asmat to contest the Beluran seat. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also defended Datuk Sri Ronald Kendi's bid for re-election on a PN ticket in Beluran, claiming that the latter is eligible as he is Bersatu's vice president and that the seat belongs to the party. Sabah BN chairman Datuk Sri Bong Mokhtar Radin previously defended fielding Benedict, saying it was in keeping with a unique tradition of fielding a non-Muslim in the constituency. Meanwhile, Tan Sri Muhyiddin has denied breaking a promise that PN would not contest in Sarawak during GE15. Instead, he said the agreement with GPS chairman Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg was that Bersatu would not contest in the 12th Sarawak state election last year and not during the current parliamentary election. Tan Sri Muhyiddin was commenting on a statement by Tan Sri Abang Johari, which slammed Perikatan Nasional for breaking its promise not to contest seats in Sarawak after PN announced that it would field its candidates in Saratok, Lubuk Antu, Bintulu and Batang Lupa.
Jadi itu waktu PRN. Dia kata, state tak apa, bagilah saya. Parlimen you can. Parlimen bukan ada bentuk soal negeri. Parlimen tak bentuk kursi parlimen bentuk kerajaan pusat.
On Monday, Parti Pesaka Bumiputra Bersatu PBB Vice President Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah described Perikatan Nasional's actions as an act of desperation, to the point of being willing to put aside the spirit of camaraderie, when in fact GPS is more relevant at the local level.
Mesti ada behind the scene understanding. Dan understanding inilah yang saya percaya telah dicacatkan dengan meletakkan calon-calon ini. Kita sedihlah, kita sedih, tapi harapan saya ia tidak sampai ke peringkat terus bermusuh.
A report has been lodged by Federal Territory MIC over Batu candidates' allegations that the party offered payment to switch allegiances during the Sheraton move in 2020. Federal Territory's MIC chairman, Dato' S. Raja, claimed that Batu hopeful P. Prabhakaran of PKR had alleged that MIC offered him 10 million ringgit to switch parties.
saya buat laporan polis ni, saya nak bagi tahu memang tidak ada sebarang orang telah offer kepada dia 10 juta. Itu adalah fitnah, Toman, betul-betul tak masuk akal.
Dr. Raja also urged Prabhakaran to withdraw his statement. He said the candidate should have a healthy campaign and not resort to slander, adding that MIC is willing to withdraw the report should Prabhakaran apologize. Sentul District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Bae Eng Lai said the case would be investigated under the Penal Code for criminal defamation.
Begitu jelas dia nak dapatkan.
Still to come, Christchurch mosque gunman appeals life sentence. Stay tuned.
Kini anda mampu
Back with news on the foreign front now. U.S. voters are casting early ballots in the midterm elections that will determine control of the House and Senate as candidates try to muster last-minute support. Democrats are trying to cling to their majorities in Congress for the final 2 years of President Joe Biden's first term. Republicans are favored to win control of the House, while the race for Senate control appears tight. Voters have already cast more than 42 million ballots in the midterm elections as of Monday evening. Election officials and U.S. prosecutors will be keeping a close watch on the polls for any signs of voter intimidation on Tuesday, including in 24 states where the Justice Department will send poll monitors. Leaders from poor countries criticized wealthy governments and oil companies for driving global warming, using their speeches on Tuesday at the COP27 climate summit in Egypt to demand that they pay for damages being inflicted on their economies. Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown told delegates at the summit that small island nations suffering the brunt of climate change have called on big oil to pay for mounting damage from ocean storms and sea level rises. The leader of the small island nation said that only 6 fossil fuel companies generated more than enough money to cover the costs of major climate damages in developing countries. Brown, who was speaking on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island States, also urged collective action to reduce emissions and to end fossil fuel subsidies. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe said Western governments were quick to divert billions of dollars to the war in Ukraine, but slow to spend on climate change. A self-proclaimed white supremacist who killed 51 Muslims at 2 Christchurch mosques in March 2019 on Tuesday filed an appeal against his conviction and whole life sentence. According to the Court of Appeal, 32-year-old Brenton Tarrant's application would receive an oral hearing, but that the date for the hearing had not yet been set. It added that the court also did not immediately grant a record's request for the notice of appeal. New Zealanders expressed relief and joy in August 2020 when Tarrant, the gunman responsible for the deadliest act of violence in the country's modern history, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He pleaded guilty in 2020 after a surprise reversal of his original plea. Garcia downs Sabalenka to seal WTA Finals victory. Sports is up next. The WTA Finals. France's Caroline Garcia won the biggest title of her career on Monday by defeating Aryna Sabalenka 7-6, 6-4 to win the WTA Finals in Fort Worth, Texas. Against Sabalenka, Garcia showed off her powerful serve early as she racked up 10 of her 11 aces in the opening set. Neither player had a single break point opportunity in the first frame, with both competitors winning exactly 70% of their service points. But after going down a mini break in the tiebreaker, Garcia rattled off 6 consecutive points to pull away. She nabbed the decisive break in the very first game of the second set, serving it out well as she again denied Sabalenka any breakpoint chances. In one of the biggest matches of her career, Garcia played lights out, committing just 10 unforced errors with her 24 winners while serving only 1 double fault. The 29-year-old was ranked outside the top 70 in mid-June, but has since won 4 titles, made the semi-finals of the US Open, and will now rise to a career-high number 4. In the women's doubles, Veronika Kudermetova and Elise Mertens fought back from 7-2 down in the match tiebreak to defeat defending champions Barbara Krejcikova and Katarina Siniakova and win their first title. Kudermetova and Mertens had a good start, claiming the first set 6-2. Krejcikova and Siniakova, however, drew level as they took the second set 6-4. The decider saw a strong fight between the pairs before Kudermetova and Mertens emerged winners, clinching an 11-9 victory. Dato Sri Vida pleads not guilty to uploading offensive video. This and more after the short break.
Penemuan kotak permainan.
Staying with us. In Selangor, cosmetic entrepreneur Dato Sri Dr. Hasmiza Othman, popularly known as Dato Sri Vida, pleaded not guilty in the Sepang Sessions Court on Monday to uploading an offensive video clip last April. The 51-year-old allegedly produced and uploaded the offensive video on the DSV Entertainment YouTube channel with the intention of offending others on April 29th. She was charged under the Communications and Multimedia Act, which provides a maximum fine of 50,000 ringgit or up to a year's jail or both if found guilty. Judge Ahmad Fuad Othman allowed Datuk Sri Hazmiza bail of 5,000 ringgit with one surety. The court fixed December 7th for mention. Thousands of people have gathered in the hills of central Myanmar for the annual Tazang Daing Light Festival that marks the end of the rainy season with a fiery nighttime display of exploding hot air balloons. The celebrations in the former British hill station of Pin U Luin have not been held for 2 years because of the COVID pandemic and unrest following a military coup. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Raymond Go. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and have a great week ahead.